Okay, guys, let's do a show, shall we? And let's have some fun. Happy Memorial Day weekend. All right? It's going to begin in just a moment. Don't leave your, computer. It's coming up. Okay, let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to Rob Carson's What in the World? Look, kids, I got a haircut. I'm a big boy. Yeah, I got a haircut. Hi, Chad. Hi, Alan. Hello, Auntie Kay. How are you? Welcome to the show. We've got a ton of stuff to get to. This is, of course, Memorial Day weekend. Honestly, a memorable Memorial Day weekend because for the first time in forever, people didn't travel. I've never seen a Memorial Day weekend like this before. I worked today, as I always do. Hello, Aaron. How are you, my friend? But a lot of people just staying at home, man. Just staying at home. I am at home. My wife is out of town. Oh, man, I hate you, Alan. Alan got my Alec Bradley cigar lit and have a Boulevard wheat beer port. I hate you. I'm so glad that you're joining me, Alan. I appreciate it, brother. I know we disagree on a lot of things, but you're a good man, and I want to have a beer with you sometime. Kenny Cunningham also joining me. Hi, guys. I got a ton of stuff, and I have some good news. Some things are really happening that are very positive, and I've waited a very long time for my break in broadcasting, and it looks like it might be coming. Details coming soon. If you had a chance to check out my show on Newsmax TV, just really fun. I'm working with a guy named Brian Schlossberg. He's a friend of mine. He DJ. He did a terrific show in Washington D.C. Called Flounders Mashups on DC 101. He's editing the show, and my God in heaven, he's a magic man. He is. When you see the show, it is like the Daily Show, okay, but a conservative show, and it's really effing funny. And I talk about more than politics, so you've got to watch it on Newsmax TV. Newsmax, thank you so much for joining me, and Christopher Ruddy, the president of the company. It is such an honor to be considered and to be spotlighted by you. It is beyond anything I've ever experienced in my life. And I've waited for a break for a very long time in broadcasting. And I made a break happen. So things are positive. Things are good. You're going to enjoy it, guys. You are. Hello, Jody and Tim. Let's hang out together tonight, shall we? Because I got some really funny stuff. And some not so funny stuff. I want to get to Joe Biden and saying that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. I thought that was just arrogant. No. Beyond that, I've got more thoughts on it than most other hosts do, and I'm going to share that in just 1 second. A couple of things here. Alaska completely reopened yesterday. It looks like only a handful of restrictions, and not everybody's going to die. Okay. Alan, you know what? My show was supposed to be on tonight on Newsmax, but I think what they did last night is they ran it at 4 and 8 in prime time on Saturday night, and they're not running it today. I had mentioned earlier today, I thought it was on today. I don't think it's on tonight. That's why I'm here. Elder crisis in Pennsylvania highlighted this week when data released by the Pennsylvania Department of Health showed the average age of those who died of COVID-19 in the state 80 years old or more. And this is still a tragedy because people, any year of life you have, guys, I don't care if you're 80, 90, 100 frickin' years old, every year is such a gift, dear God in heaven. But these are people who are dying. Deaths in nursing homes and assisted living facilities currently account for more than 68% of all the coronavirus-related fatalities in the state. This is in the state of Pennsylvania, and it's happening in New York, and it happened in New York, and the idiot governor of the state of New York, douchebag Andrew Cuomo, he put people with coronavirus in nursing homes, and thousands died. And now he's blaming it on the Trump administration. It was the single dumbest decision anyone could make. This, according to the UK Daily Mail, more than 3,300 4,300 recovering coronavirus patients were sent to New York nursing homes under Governor Cuomo's directive that the facilities could not reject anyone. The governor is blaming Donald Trump on this. It is bull crap. Even Governor Cuomo, the main proponent of the policy, has previously called nursing homes the optimum feeding ground for the virus. It was the single dumbest decision anyone could make if they wanted to kill people. Daniel Aberney said of the directive. Daniel, pardon me, pulled his 88-year-old father out of a Brooklyn nursing home where more than 50 people have died. His father later died of the virus at home. He said it's not rocket science. We knew the most vulnerable, the elderly and compromised are in nursing homes and rehab centers. New York Health Department declined to comment after being told of this person. May 10th, Cuomo, a Democrat, reversed the directive, which had been intended to help free up hospital beds for the sickest patients as cases surged. But he continued to defend it this week, saying he didn't believe it contributed to more than 5,800 nursing and adult care facility deaths in New York, more than any other state. New York completely effed things up, and people died. Hello, Tish. Hello, Beth. Hello, Chris. How are you? I'm having a delicious pineapple juice tonight. How you like the haircut? I had a mullet yesterday. Dear God in heaven. Many U.S. states have seen lower infection rates after ending lockdowns that are now destroying millions of livelihoods worldwide. This is according to J.P. Morgan, ladies and gentlemen. Studies suggest that lockdown measures may have not only resulted in economic devastation, but could have resulted in more COVID-19 deaths. This idiot. Oh, it's so funny that I've got this kind of, look at my beverage. Because it's kind of green. Oh, wow, look at my green screen. Look what it's doing. Oh, look, I don't have a face anymore. Ew, and I don't have a microphone. Oh, that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. These idiotic restrictions are killing people. How about that? These idiotic restrictions are killing people. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm going to go ahead and just text someone real quick. I know you're very busy, but I wanted you to know that I am on Facebook Live at Rob Carson, period. I won't bother you again. Have a glorious evening. That was somebody kind of important, and I'm not going to say who it is. But I wanted to, send that text. Okay. So anyway. The shutdown is killing more people than it didn't. In California, the state of California, more people are dying of suicide than have died of coronavirus. This is unbelievable. The naysayers, the fearmongers have been wrong all of the way. It started with Imperial College in London, and it is not ended. People are finally saying, you know what, I'm done. Where I work today, people were wearing masks. When I went to the grocery store, people are saying, you know what, F you, and your social distancing measures, they're absurd. They're absurd on the face of them. They are absurd that you think that being 6 feet from somebody, it will save you, but 5 feet from somebody, you're cool. Dear God, are you that effing stupid? Are you that stupid that you think that being 6 feet from somebody is going to save your life, but 4 feet, you're dead? I went and got my hair cut today, and I had to wear a friggin' mask in this place. The woman cutting hair said, it's a company policy. We're going to make you wear a face mask. I said, fine. I had to wear the damn thing for 20 minutes today to get my hair cut. I will not do it again. It's stupid. And I have been eaten alive. I have lost friends over this because I said it's nonsense. It is not the Black Plague. It is not that. It never has been. And that a close down of the country was an overreaction. Imperial College was where it came from, and it has been disproven again and again and again and again. Open up the damned country. Open up the country. California doctors say they've seen more deaths from suicide than from coronavirus since lockdowns. It is crazy. It is crazy about people finding worth in work and what they do. It's just amazing that even if somebody's getting a government check, even if somebody got a stimulus check, they are steeped in despair because they can't do what they want to do. This is about freedom. This is about being told you need to stay home. In some states, being ticketed for walking your dog. Is it any surprise that a people who live free would be crushed by an odious government that would tell them, you can't go out, you can't live your life, you can't go to church? Helen says, there's something different about you. Is it your haircut? No, I'm still the same me. Yeah, there is a different haircut. More deaths have resulted from suicide in California than since the lockdowns. These are people, obviously, who are on the fence. These are people who are suffering depression. I can relate. People have been told they can't express themselves. People have been told they cannot protest in the public square. People have been told they cannot worship. They've had the authorities called on them for taking their children to a park. They've had the authorities called on them for having Bible studies. Is there any reason why there are more deaths from suicide than coronavirus since the lockdowns? Of course not. Of course not. Hey, let's talk about Joe Biden. Joe Biden said something that was patently racist when he was talking to Charlemagne the God. I'm thinking about maybe I need a name. You know, I'm Carson, Rob Carson. I can't be Charlemagne. Maybe there's another historical figure. I could be like Genghis Khan, the demigod. No, I don't want to do I need to come up with a cool. I don't think he's named Charlemagne the God. I could be wrong. Maybe his parents said, hey, you know what? He looks like a Charlemagne the God. We're going to go with Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the God does a radio show, and it is called like Wake Up America. I don't know what the hell it is. Anyway, Charlemagne the God has had Joe Biden on last week, and Joe Biden said that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. And I'm going to get into why that's not a surprise from somebody like Joe Biden or somebody in the Democrat Party. Here is Joe Biden on Charlemagne. Hold on. Let me scroll down here. Charlemagne the God's show, and Joe Biden saying that if you don't vote for him, you're not black. Talking to black people.
Well, you know, thanks so much. That's really our time. I apologize.
You can't do that to black media.
I can't do that to white media and black media because my wife has to go on at 6 o'clock.
Okay.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something.
Okay, now people are saying that this is a joke. Okay, is it a joke? Let's listen to it again.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community.
Okay, so he basically, like I said, he said that if you ain't... Hold on, here it is.
Trump, and you ain't black.
Okay.
It don't have nothing to do with...
So anyway, he said basically, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. And then people are saying that it is a joke. It's not. And I'll explain why. And I did this in a meme earlier this week. And I said that the Democrat Party asked the black voter to service them until Election Day, and then the day after, they leave some money on the dresser and they leave. I thought it was a pretty good analogy. Joe Biden said that because he can say it. Joe Biden said it because he said things like, the Republican Party is going to put you all back in chains. Hillary Clinton said, I am in no ways tired. The Democrat Party has been a puppet master for the African-American community for decades. They are the party of Jim Crow. They are the party of slavery. They are the party of Orville Faubus. They are the party that continually promises that things are going to get better for the black community, and they never do. The Great Society was supposed to cure the ills of the country, and it ended up wrecking the African-American family. Right now in this country, we have an abortion rate of 60% of black babies never get to see the light of day. 60% of black infants in the womb never live to be George Washington Carver, to never live to be Oprah Winfrey. They never live to be Clarence Thomas. They never live to be anything. Black on black violence, the murder rate 10 times the national average. Black incarceration rates are through the ceiling. The Democrat Party has wrought this upon African Americans, and every time they attempt to move on, somebody like Joe Biden comes along and says, if you vote for somebody else, you're not black. Hillary Clinton talked about a Republican plantation, but the plantation is the Democrat Party. Whenever someone tries to move on to the Republican Party or being a conservative, they are branded. They are trying to escape the plantation, and the hounds of the media and other Democrats chase them down and try to drag them back. And that's not an inflammatory analogy. It's very true. Joe Biden said what he did because he could. Joe Biden said what he did because he felt it in his heart, and he believes it to the core of his soul. Here is Charlemagne the God's response to that. I believe this is on MSNBC.
Takeaway from the conversation.
My overall takeaway from the conversation was I heard him, talking about, things that he did for black people back in the day. But, what have you done for me lately is my motto. I see black communities all across America catching hell regardless of who's in the White House. And, people like to bring up coronavirus and how it's hitting black people the hardest. Well, that's because we have a bunch of underlying conditions created by systemic racism that... No, not created by systemic racism. No, you're wrong. And the only difference that I agree with Charlemagne the God is that he is absolutely pinning everything on everyone else other than the African-American community. And there has to be some sort of responsibility here. It is not just systemic racism. And I'm going to tell you, I grew up when I was a kid, and dear God in heaven, I can't relate to the black experience. I can't imagine turning on the television and having all the people on television be white. But I also grew up in another time where there was a great deal, and I was Generation X. I was the first generation to forget about color, and I was raised on things like Schoolhouse Rock and Alex Hazley's Roots and Good Times and the Jeffersons, and these shows took on racism, and I thought we'd moved beyond it, but somebody decided to drag us back to 1968. And the black American community, and you cannot just blame this on someone else. You cannot blame a murder rate 10 times higher than the national average on somebody else, Charlemagne the God. So I have a real issue with you. You seem to be a pretty smart dude, but you cannot blame everything. And you cannot blame everything on, I'm not blaming everything on Democrat policies, okay? But you cannot blame everything on someone else, sir. There has to be responsibility. There has to be responsibility on why 80% of African-American fathers are leaving their children with a mom.
There has to be a reason why many African American women are having multiple children with multiple fathers. That is not systemic racism. That is a choice. Here we go.
Have never been fixed, and like I said before, if you created legislation that hurt, then you have to create legislation that helps. It's just that simple. Like, the whole system needs to be dismantled and rebuilt, and he's been a very intricate part of that system. Whether you're talking about, in 84 with the mandatory minimum sentences for drug dealers, or you're talking about 86 with the crack laws that gave you more time for crack cocaine and powder cocaine. Are you talking about the 94 crime bill? Like, he was, really one of the people on the front.
Okay, very, very well-versed, I would assume quite clear on all of those pieces of legislation.
Line when it came to the war on drugs and mass incarceration. So I think that, if he wants to be president, he needs to fix that. He needs to really, really, help the people that have helped Democrats all of these years.
Okay. Now, the one thing he's missing out of all of those things is that the bills about like crack cocaine, I don't believe necessarily were directed at African Americans. They were directed at the plague of crack cocaine. It just so happens that more African Americans were using it. Okay. That crime bill he was talking about in 1994 was racist. It was. Hello, Michelle. Hello, Richard. Hello, Stephanie. What's up, girl? How you? Here is Harris Faulkner. She's wonderful. She's the host of Outnumbered on Fox, talking about this. And she's married to a white man, and we have been dragged kicking and screaming back into 1968 for a number of years. My children have always been colorblind, and it's easy for you to say you're white privileged and all that. My kids were raised in a colorless society. I chose to be raised in a colorless society. Even my father was, he said racist things. He did, but at the same time, we'd have his friend George and his lovely wife and child come to our house in South Iowa and have dinner. It was curious. I was very curious because, I was like, 8 years old, and there's this black kid, and we hung out, and he was like looking at my hair, and I was looking at his hair, and we played together. And then suddenly, years ago, maybe 10 years ago, maybe as the Obama administration, maybe a little before, suddenly some people wanted to drag us back to 1968 again. And listen, there are still incidents of systemic racism and whatnot, but a lot of it is and must be the black community needs to be held responsible in many ways. We've seen a culture of violence. We've seen a culture that celebrates in music and videos, whatever, movies, the drug culture, the thug culture. Yeah, I said thug. Oh my God, I'm a racist. Misogyny, the dumbing down of the language, the dumbing down of everything, the demonization of kids who do well in school, not giving kids in inner cities, black kids in inner cities, an option for an alternative with regard to education. And how many have suffered through that, and how many have climbed out of it? Condoleezza Rice. Here is Harris Faulkner talking about Joe Biden's hurtful comments.
I've been fighting against this notion that you're not black enough unless you think a certain way, you vote a certain way, you speak a certain way, you do certain things. My whole life, I grew up military, pretty much neutral along the zone of can we all just get along no matter what we look like. I have biracial daughters, Melissa, you know them. This is more than just a little offensive. It is short-sighted. It is a blind spot for this former vice president. He should have gotten up immediately on whatever venue microphone he had. I would have said it for him immediately right there in the one that he already was in. on the Breakfast Club and say, you know what? Let me restate that. But, I think this says it better. It is black voices for Trump and their statement. I'm just going to read the first couple of sentences. White liberal elitists have continuously dictated which black Americans are allowed to come to the table and have a voice. It is clear now more than ever, following these racist and dehumanizing remarks, that Joe Biden believes black men and women are incapable of being independent or free-thinking.
Oh, no, it's not just Joe Biden. It is the Democrat Party. It has been the Democrat Party forever. Hold on one second. I have to send this here. Facebook. I've got somebody who wants to check out the show right now, and unfortunately, he's not able to do that. Hold on, guys. I apologize. It's kind of important. Rob. Sorry. Dot. Carson. Dot 39. Okay. I'm back. Anyway, back to Harrison Faulkner.
Truly believes that a 77-year-old white man should dictate how black people should behave. Biden has a history of racial condescension, and today he once again proved that a growing number of black Americans, and I have always known Joe Biden does not deserve our votes. That's Katrina Pearson, Trump 2020 senior advisor. You don't have to be any particular race to know when someone puts you down because you're different.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you right now, guys. This is the thought process of the Democrat Party. It has been for a very long time. It has been for a very long time. Joe Biden is nothing more than a mouthpiece for what the Democrat Party has said for years. Let me see here. I'm going to compose a note, and then I'm sorry. I apologize. Chris. Okay. All right. We are back. Pardon me, guys. Just emailed you the link. All right. Let's move on. I apologize, guys. I am trying to talk to somebody who wants to check out the show. For good reasons. All right, let's move on. Harris Faulkner talks about this. And back to this is an arrogance of the Democrat Party that has been stated for years and years and years. Democrats have always been they've taken the black vote for granted. They have. Dear God in heaven, it should be painfully obvious, and it never gets better. It never gets better. With the Democrat Party, things never get better. So no matter what happens, no matter what election happens, black people will always be victims of systemic racism. And you have to vote for a Democrat to ride in on a white horse and save the day. And they never save the day. They never save the day. Here is Al Sharpton, and I don't know why this doofus is some sort of a. And honestly, I think with most black Americans, and I say black Americans because they're a lot of black people. They're Americans. I don't call myself an Irish, English, German American. Dear God in heaven. Okay. Hold on. I know I'm live there, period. Okay. Anyway, they're Americans. Why don't we call Asian Americans? Why don't we call Liberian Americans? Why don't we call them Russian Americans? Why don't we call people Irish Americans? Why don't we call people Vietnamese Americans? Why? Yes, I understand slavery. Dear God in heaven. I have thought about this for decades, about the lost lives and generations to slavery, dear God. But that doesn't mean necessarily that black people in the country immediately assume they're African. Okay? Here's Al Sharpton. I don't know why he's a mouthpiece for this. He hitched his ride on Jesse Jackson, who hitched his ride on Martin Luther King Jr. Neither of them, honestly, they stand in the shadow and they are lame. Hold on, I gotta go real quick. I just had a friend request that I need to approve. Confirm. There you go. All right. But these people were a shadow. Jesse Jackson was a shadow of Martin Luther King Jr. He was on the balcony at the Lorraine Motel in Memphis in 1968, 69. I can't remember. I was just an infant. But they are shadows of what Martin Luther King Jr. was, because Martin Luther King Jr. was a Republican. Jesse Jackson hitched his wagon to the Democrat Party and liberalism. They are shadows. I don't know what it is. I never have understood this. How is it that some African American leaders are able to become immediate spokespeople for African Americans? Okay, how you can become maybe you're a reverend, maybe you're the Reverend Wright, whatever. And you can suddenly become an African American leader. I'm just going to go ahead and declare that I'm a white American leader. I live in a cul-de-sac. I live in very white. Actually, I don't live in a cul-de-sac. I live on a street. I lived in a cul-de-sac for a long time. But, honestly, I should declare myself as a white American leader because I have all the fire. I'm a firebrand. I am white. I live in a neighborhood with a fenced-in yard and 3 dogs. I watch HGTV at night. What else do I do that's really white? I like kind of like Nickelback a little bit at times. They're pretty cool. My wife and I watch Property Brothers. What else makes me really white? I like wheat beer occasionally. I'm really white. Okay. So maybe I should suddenly become a leader of some sort of a white movement. Anyway, Al Sharpton is somehow a leader, even though he can barely put a sentence together. Not a terribly intelligent man. But here he is talking about the comments of Joe Biden, again, saying that you ain't black if you don't vote for him.
Well, I watched the interview that he did with Charlemagne the God. And first of all, Charlemagne the God is...
I've got to come up with a better air name. It's got to be... I've got to be a historical figure like John Paul II, the superhero. Nah, that won't work.
As respected as one can be in the black community and in general, there's no way he's pressing someone in an interview on behalf of Donald Trump. He presses everybody in interviews. And ironically, the questions he was raising about Vice President Biden, I raised and others have raised in interviews. He presses me when I go on the show, and we're friends, and he speaks at our conventions and all. He's one that wants answers. So I think that his being something other than black is as ludicrous as saying that I'm going to be in the Rockettes when Radio City opens up again. I can dance, but I can't do the Rockettes.
I really did not need that visual. I just suddenly saw Al Sharpton wearing fishnet stockings in a chorus line. Little weird. Okay. So here are, this is kind of interesting. This is a Students for Trump montage of African-American black kids talking about why they are black but don't support Joe Biden.
So if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Oh, Joe Biden thinks I'm not black?
Joe Biden does not think I'm black.
Joe Biden said, if I don't vote for him, I'm not black.
Joe Biden does not think I am black.
Joe Biden doesn't think I'm black. So I've got a message for Joe Biden, who doesn't think that I'm black if I don't vote for him.
Joe Biden doesn't think I'm black because I'm not a Democrat, but let me tell you this, Joe Biden, you cannot shame me to run it back to your Democrat party.
Like this guy.
I'm black, okay? I don't support Joe Biden. I support Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much.
I am black, and I am not voting for Joe Biden. I am not voting for Democrats. I am voting Trump all the way.
I'm black, and I'm not voting Joe Biden. I'm voting Trump 2020.
Do you realize how dangerous it is that these people are saying, I said these people, I'm a racist. But these black people are saying that they support Donald Trump. Do you realize how dangerous that is in this country? It's like being a conservative on Facebook or Twitter or YouTube. Even worse, though. If you're a black person and you support the Republican Party, you are going to be shamed. You are going to be... They're going to try and gather you up and bring you back to the Democrat plantation. It's happened this way forever. I made this analogy years ago when Hillary Clinton said that there was a Republican plantation. The plantation has always been Democrats. And when you try to escape ideologically, and again, this is a metaphor, when you try to escape ideologically from a group where most of your people are and you try to leave, that is an escape. African Americans, for some reason, black people in this country, for some reason, have been told and have followed, even though Jim Crow, slavery, the whole deal was a Democrat thing, that if you leave the Democrat Party, you are a racist. How many evening dinners were ended when someone admitted that they are a conservative or a Trump supporter as a black person? Unbelievable.
I support President Donald Trump. That is who I support.
I'm black, but I don't support Joe Biden. I support President Donald J. Trump.
I'm black, and I don't support Joe Biden. I support Donald Trump. Go, Mr. President.
I've been black all my life. I've been Republican all my life, and I'm going to be...
Most people, black people, were closeted. They couldn't say these things. I don't know who did this, Students for Trump. They found people and they said, by God in heaven, I am proud to be this. Maybe it's because Donald Trump ushered in the lowest black unemployment rates in the history of the country. Maybe that's part of it. Maybe they're finally getting that the Democrat Party just wants service from the black community until Election Day, and the next day they walk away leaving money on the dresser.
GOP to the day I die, and I do not need Joe Biden or any other old white man, for that matter, to tell me who to vote for.
Just because I'm black does not mean that I'm obligated to vote Democrat. That just proves to me that he is not for black people and that he just wants the black vote.
Joe Biden, you do not own black thought. The fact that you thought you could coin the term ain't black and you could say that we ain't black if we don't vote for you is disgusting. You don't own the black vote. You don't own us. And this just proves the racism of the Democratic Party.
Boom. There you go. Okay. You get the point. You get the point. I would hate to be a part of a party. Well, you know, it happens on the Republican Party too, I guess. I am a conservative, all right? I differ with very hardcore Christian conservatives. I believe in lower taxes, smaller government, strong defense, strong borders, and I don't care if gay people get married. You know, oh my God, I'm a charlatan, whatever. I don't care if some states want to make pot legal. I'm not for legalizing all drugs that are illegal now. No. But if Kansas wants to make pot legal, hell yeah. You know, whatever. If the people want it, that's fine. Okay. Gay people want to get married, that's fine. I am pro-life because I was a fetus. Okay. I don't care what ideology you're a part of. Human beings need to live. If you are a liberal, you are a fetus. Why are you better than that person in the womb? The only thing separating you from that fetus is a wall of flesh and a stage in development. Okay, let's see who else has something to say about Joe Biden. Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott had some things to say about Joe Biden saying if you don't vote for him, you're not black.
South Carolina Senator Tim Scott with us now. Mr. Senator, do you think you've got in South Carolina something to teach Governor Cuomo of New York and Governor Murphy of New Jersey? You going to teach him a lesson?
I'm going to move this forward just a skosh, guys.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man.
Joe Biden says, "You ain't black." Response to that, Senator?
Wow. That is the most arrogant, condescending comment I've heard in a very long time, and that's saying something. The man who sponsored and led the charge on the 1990s crime bill that locked up more African-American males than any other piece of legislation, and President Trump comes along and through his criminal justice reform corrects the absolute mistakes made by Joe Biden. For him to make such an arrogant, ridiculous comment to, if you think about the numbers, 1.3 million African Americans voted for Trump. He's saying to 1.3 million African Americans that you're not black? Who in the heck does he think he is? That is the most arrogant, outrageous comment I've heard in a very long time.
I agree. And the reason why he made the comment is because he knew he could. It backfired, but he knew he could. Okay, let's move on to other stuff. Donald Trump. One more thing about Biden. One more. With his interview with Charlemagne the God, he also talked about prison and why people are in prison. This is very pandery. This is pandering toward people of color, basically saying you are not responsible for what you did. You are not responsible for being in prison. There are other things.
Only a couple things everybody has in common in jail. One is they were the victims of abuse, or their kids were, or their mother was.
Not necessarily all the time, but thank you.
Number two, can't read. Number three, they don't have any job skills. They were in a position where they didn't get a chance.
Oh, no. There are a lot of people who have job skills who did something stupid and ended up in jail.
Why does it make sense? Why did I come along and write the first act that said when you get out of prison, you don't just get a notion where you get $25 in a bus ticket. You end up under the bridge.
Okay. There's another reason why people are in prison. Because they broke the law. Okay? I hate to tell you this, but most of the people in prison, yes, there are exceptions. There are instances where people did not need to go to prison. There are times that people were overpunished, but most of the people in prison are there because they broke the law. Okay? So stop saying that it's somebody else's fault. I've got a million reasons why from my childhood I should be, whatever. There's probably something in my childhood that says I should go out and rob a bank. I don't know. I did not have a perfect childhood, dear God in heaven. But at the same time, people are in prison for a reason. They broke the law, and at some point, I don't care what it is. It's on you. It's on you. Donald Trump says we should not close the country again. When this originally started, guys, I said, and literally I started talking about this in the middle of March. I have a good buddy who's named Chris Plant. And I wrote him and I said, Chris, this is insanity. We should not shut down the country. And people in national media were terrified to say it because they didn't know how bad it was going to get. I'm not a medical expert, dear God. You know that. But I knew that this wasn't the Black Plague. It wasn't going to happen again. I looked at models, scientific models other than Imperial College, and I said, this doesn't make any sense. Why are we closing down the country? And then as I learned more about people who are dying because of it and their advanced age and their comorbidities, that this is not a population-wide pandemic, and the reason why people have taken it that way is because we watched too many damn zombie movies and too many pandemic scenarios. This has never been the Black Plague. This was never going to kill 2 million Americans. It was not going to happen. It wasn't going to happen. And I was right. All of my friends in media, they were going, Rob, what, really? God dang it. Just pay attention. Just pay attention. I said from the get-go, this can never happen again. This will wreck us. I'm not talking about the country. I'm talking about the world. Our response can never happen. If this happens again and again, we're done. If we freak out like this, we're done. Donald Trump gets it. He says this quite simply can't happen again.
Another 2.4 million people claiming first-time unemployment insurance benefits today. How close are we to the cure being worse than the disease?
I think that a lot of these states are going to, the ones that are sort of sticking to a certain very rigid pattern, I think they're going to stop. I don't think the people are going to stand for it.
They're tired of it. They're sick of it. They get it. I see it every day. I see people, they're like, screw this. I'm not going to live like this. I'd rather roll my dice on something, by the way, that has the mortality rate of the freaking flu.
It's a country that's meant to be open, not closed. And we did the right thing, John. We saved millions of lives, millions and millions of lives. You would have had anywhere from 1.5 million to 2.5 million.
I disagree, because the Imperial College model said that 2 million people would die with the shutdown. So I disagree on this.
3 million lives. Think of it. So if we were at 100,000, instead of 100,000, multiply that times 15, 20, or 25, it wouldn't have been acceptable.
Not going to happen when the death rate is 0.24%.
It wouldn't have been sustainable. You couldn't have done it. So we've called it right, and now I want it open, and we're going to open, and if there's a fire...
And it's time. And it's time. And states that are reopening, they're realizing nothing has happened. In Wisconsin, they had a primary. People were allowed to vote. There was not a gigantic outbreak. Spring break in Florida 2 months ago. People were convinced they were going to spread this virus throughout the country. It never happened. I know the head of a local hospital, St. Luke's East. I asked this person, I said, what about the coronavirus pandemic? She said, it's nothing. How many cases have you gotten? 14. How many deaths? 1. Tell me about the person who died. They were already in hospice dying from something else. What did you do with the people who tested positive? Well, there was one guy who had kidney failure, one guy who had an heart condition. They were put in ICU. The other ones were sent home with meds and told to stay at home until they got better. Unreal. There are places in the country that churches have been told to shut down, and there is a mindset among some people that if you open your business, you are somehow going to kill a lot of people. We've seen that. These are the panic mongers. These are the people who call the authorities on dads in parks with their kids or moms. And now it's come to this. A Mississippi church fire. Wow, you suppose a Democrat did this? First Pentecostal Church of Holly Springs, Mississippi, burned to the ground Wednesday morning. Congregation had been in a legal battle to continue holding services despite the novel coronavirus outbreak and subsequent lockdown orders. Somebody decided to burn the place down. Little slideshow while I talk to you. Thomas More Society Senior Counsel and lawyer for the church, Stephen Crampton, spoke with Fox News, said there was a message on the pavement. I bet you stay home now. Hypocrites, of course, misspelled. Crampton represented the First Pentecostal Court after Pastor Jerry Warthup was cited for holding Easter Sunday services. Thomas More Society also claimed police disrupted a Bible study group held 10 days after the citation. Last month, the U.S. District Judge Michael Mills issued an order allowing First Pentecostal to stay open. It wasn't enough, though. Somebody decided to burn the damn place down. Somebody decided that you're going to make people sick. And they burned it down. I said that it's a Democrat. Nobody is so twisted up in the government idea that this virus is going to kill everyone. They are so twisted up in this ideology that they would say, if you hold a church service, you are killing people, and they decided to burn the church down. Yeah, Democrats and burnings of churches in Mississippi. Yeah, happens. It happens. Baltimore pastor decided to rip up a cease and desist order from the state of Maryland. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan, a supposed Republican, said that places of worship could reopen at 50% capacity. Like anybody can freaking enforce that. Pastor Stacy Shiflett's 400-member Calvary Baptist Church attended the service on Wednesday. And he said, you know what? I'm going to have none of this. Here he is ripping up the government's cease and desist order.
The Bible says to the New Testament church, not forsaking the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, but so much the more as you see the day approaching. And the closer we get to Jesus coming back, the more church we ought to be having, not less church. Now that's God's parameters. So I'm tearing up this cease and desist order right here, and I'm telling you right now, we're going to do it God's way.
Okay. I'm not a big evangelical, it always makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, but he's making a point. People choose to go to church. Pastors choose to open their churches. And that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be. Donald Trump visited a Ford plant last week, and apparently he didn't wear a mask, and that has Allison Camerata and other news people saying he broke the law.
Okay, John, back here in the U.S., President Trump is explaining why he broke the law and refused to wear a mask during his public tour of a Ford plant in Michigan.
I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure.
Hey, you know what? I really don't need to explain it to you because I'm the frickin' president.
Of seeing it, but no, where I had it in the back area, I did put a mask on.
Okay, so for some reason, the president did wear a mask in private, as seen in this.
Oh, there's Allison Camerata alluding that the president may have broken the law.
This picture from the Detroit Free Press, but then he took it off once he was in front of the cameras. Why did he want to publicly break the law? Joining us now.
Oh, dear God in heaven. I hate to tell you this. I've broken the law a few times, too. Not wearing a freaking mask. You know why? Because I'm not going to wear a freaking mask. Okay. Cuomo brothers had it. And I hate this cutesy crap with regard to Chris Cuomo, the host of the Chris Cuomo show, who's, whatever. His brother is Andrew Cuomo. He's the governor of the state of New York, and they decided to joke around because apparently Chris Cuomo thinks his brother has a large nose. Now, this is after the Chris Cuomo, or I should say Andrew Cuomo, really effed up everything and caused thousands of people to die because he allowed people with coronavirus to be put in nursing homes. But here are the Cuomo brothers being kind of cute about it.
Video come out before we go to break, where you wanted to encourage people to get tested, and some people are afraid it's going to hurt. So you had video of it that I want to show the audience of you actually getting tested.
Okay, let's move forward.
And it had to be released with a tool. Is that true? Just to deal with the record.
She wanted to comment that I have a little button nose, and she was afraid that the swab would actually hurt because it extended my nasal cavity.
The proboscis
she was
issue.
Speaking about the delicacy of
the nose. And that's what, you know what, I understand. This is the normal swab I'm holding up here.
Okay,
now,
here's the joke.
For everybody at home. A very valuable object. There's only one company in the entire country that makes these up in Maine. All right, here's the swab. Is it true that this was the swab that the nurse was actually using on you?
Oh, yes, my policies only killed 4,000 elderly people, but I'll go with your joke. And oddly enough, if you're a Democrat, you could light that on fire and go hunting people.
And that at first it went into your nose and disappeared, so that in scale, this was the actual swab that was being used to.
Remember when you gave me nuggies as a kid? Oh yeah, that was awesome, and the people died and all that. But you know what? We're just brothers.
Hit up that double-barrel shotgun that you have mounted on the front of your pretty face.
Yeah. Janice Dean is a host on Fox, and her in-laws died at a New York nursing facility because of the policies of Big Nose.
So my husband's parents were in assisted living. His mom was in an assisted living facility. His dad was in a nursing home. And the plan was to have them both together. So Dee, his mom, was in assisted living, a double room. We were planning to have Mickey live with her. Mickey had dementia, and he had a few problems that he needed rehab. So he was in a nursing/rehab center. And the plan was to have them together. And Sean really wrestled with putting them in nursing homes and assisted living. Yeah. So this was a decision that, took place 6 to 8 months ago, very recently, after struggling for months, wondering if this was the right move. And as you've told your audience, we no longer have them here today.
And I mean, that's...
Guys, there are people, a lot of us think that elderly people in this country, I think more than any other country, there are other countries who actually value the wisdom of age. And when people here become advanced in their age, they become weird, they become gross, they become whatever. My mother's 90 years old. She's still my mom. My God in heaven, I love her more than I ever have. She's old. She's wrinkly. She's gross compared to kids. Kids, they look at me. They probably think I'm gross too. And for some odd reason that maybe the Democrat Party and others, they have decided that people who are in their advanced years are an acceptable fatality with regard to this coronavirus. And they're not. Even if the lifespan is 6 months or a year or 2 years or 10 years, it's still a life. There's still joy to be had. There's still laughter to be had. There are still people who love them. My mom's not in a nursing facility, and I'm glad she's not. In New York, they really effed up in New York. They really effed up in New York. A lot of people die even though they couldn't take care of them at home, themselves at home. Why is that a death sentence? Why is it cool? Why is it okay that 4,300 people in New York State died in nursing facilities because this governor said, put COVID patients there? This is the same disrespect of life the Democrat Party has for the unborn. It is. It's the same scenario. Hello, Deanna. How are you? Hello, Jay. My friend, how are you? James Carville. I didn't realize he's like this. He's 75. James Carville, 75 years old. Is his value, is his life less valuable because he's 75 years old than somebody who's 65? No. James Carville says that Donald Trump is going to get his ass beat. Going to get his ass beat in the coming election.
He's going to get his ass beat. All right, that's what's going on. He's going to get his fat ass beat.
Didn't I just say that? I think he said that Donald Trump has got to get his ass beat.
All right, now, the question is by how much? if we want to go do this lethargic kind of stuff and blah, 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 and worry about this, we can get 290, 295 electoral votes and we'll change nothing.
James Carville's wrong about everything.
If we go and take it to him and talk about what a massive fat failure he is.
Really, how's he a failure? You giant flaming D-bag. What has he done that is a failure? Sir, he brought back African-American members of the workforce, the lowest African-American rate of unemployment in the history of mankind, the same way with most women in the workforce. Same goes with Hispanic members of the workforce. He brought back manufacturing into this country. Failed Democrat policies. They have clawed and scratched at what Donald Trump has wanted to do for decades and never have gotten it. And you're saying, and the only reason you, sir, dear God, the only reason you are saying that Donald Trump is going to lose is because you freaking hate him, and you are calling a man who is the president of the United States a fat ass.
Then we can run away with this thing. And you can defeat, idea is not just to defeat Trump. You have to defeat Trumpism.
What is Trumpism? Believing that America can be great again, right?
You have to defeat the idea.
Look at he's kind of snarling there.
That the United States of America is a place and not an idea. And we're all fighting, and it's...
You're the one who thinks it's a place, not an idea. Are you out of your mind?
White people fighting against non-white people, and men fighting against women, and I don't know, gay people fighting against non-gay people. It's all bullshit. And it's just call him on it. The country does not want him back.
Really? I think the country actually does. And by the way, James Carville, for being a bellwether of what is going to happen in the country, and here's the reason why, guys. I do political punditry to some degree, and I am a political satirist. The thing about political pundits, and they're very similar to people who are into sports. And I don't do sports radio. I hate sports radio. I not hate the people on it. It's just something I don't do. But they're both wrong about everything. Okay, so political pundits. Let me restate that. Political pundits, sports prognosticators, and TV weathermen all have about a 50% rate of success. Half of the time they're wrong. James Carville is wrong at least half of the time, and I would say much more. Here's a cover of a book that he did right as Donald. I think this is right after Barack Obama was elected president the first time. He said that there would be 40 more years of Democrat ownership of leadership in the country. Right after he wrote this book, the Republicans took back the House or the Senate. The House was lost in the last election, but after this book, the Republicans gained the Senate and the House and the presidency. So James Carville, you've always been wrong half the time, but honestly, most of the time you are wrong. With this book, I do believe we're 32 to 34 years into this, and you said it was going to change after 40 years. You've been wrong. I don't know why everybody thinks you're some sort of a sage, some sort of a somebody who is infallible. But honestly, your heyday was in the Clinton administration for a variety of reasons, but you don't know. You don't know we're a D word for Richard. You don't know it. Let's move on to other stuff, shall we? Let's have some fun with just some non-political stuff. Does that sound cool? This happened in China. Chinese worker hailed as a hero. Climbed across a building's facade without any protection to save a little girl, a maintenance worker. Now, I want you to think about this. You're in this situation. You are a maintenance worker. You are 5 stories above the ground. You're, within the possibility of dying. And a little girl is stuck outside, and you do this. They're down there. They're ready in case she falls. Watch this. Watch this guy. Spider-Man, Spider-Man. Look at this. You're a stud. Come on, buddy. I love that stuff, man. Hu Yun-Xuan, working nearby when he heard about this little girl, and he saved her. That is glorious. That is beautiful. When I grew up, I loved Elvis Presley. He was my idol for a variety of reasons. This is the latest. Check this out, guys. This is the latest item up for bid in the Elvis Presley collection. Now, I've always thought about, I would love to have something that Elvis owned or something autographed by Elvis, all this stuff. And I see some things in like Elvis's pill bottles when he died. No. And there's no freaking way that I would own this. Elvis Presley's jockstrap. Now, Elvis Presley was the king of cool. All right, he was amazing man. Who needs that as a jockstrap? I guess it's too much money, not enough time, and you say, you know what, my jockstrap. Who wears them anymore? Do they still sell them? I always hated them. I didn't like wearing underwear with your butt hanging out. I hated them. Don't like jockstrap. They're terrible. Who came up with the jock strap? You don't get enough support from regular underwear? What do you? But anyway, Elvis, who wanted a bejeweled jock strap? Elvis, what the hell? Seriously, dude? Are you walking around wearing a jock strap with this? But really? I would love to have a million things by Elvis Presley. Honestly, I think if somebody gave me Elvis Presley's jock strap, I'd say, I'm cool. I'm going to go to Pawn Stars. I'm going to get rid of it. Because, no. This is a really wild video. I want you to watch this. Because a woman defies gravity. She gets hung up in midair. Okay, I want you to watch this video. And I want you to go, holy hell, really? Watch this. She's going to be swinging from a swing into a river, one of those rope swings. And she gets hung up in midair. Watch this.
Ready, Caleb? Yes. Grace? Go, I'm filming.
Here she goes. And, what?
Ready, Caleb?
Watch this again.
Grace? Go, I'm filming.
Here she goes. What? Okay, apparently there was a nylon rope there that's invisible. So she swung out and she hit the... Weird, right? Weird. Terrifying moment. Say you got a swimming pool in your backyard. And you're hanging out. Thank God there was nobody hanging out of the pool. This happened in Miami, Florida. They had a camera. This family had a camera in their backyard. Woman lost control of her SUV. She had a diabetic shock situation. Think about how bad this would have been if somebody was in the backyard. Watch this. Doody-doody-doo. Just hanging out at the pool and what? What? Watch this thing skip over. Watch. Unbelievable. Nobody hurt. And it skipped across the wall. How weird is that? Unreal. This is kind of cool. We live in a time where I honestly believe, and I'm sure people in the Middle Ages thought the same thing. They said, we live in extraordinary times. When the printing press was discovered, we live in extraordinary times. When the telegraph happened, we live in extraordinary times. When the cure for polio came around, we live in extraordinary times. When man flew for the first time, we live in extraordinary times. We really do. We live in times that dwarf everything in history of mankind. You don't realize this. In your lifetime, if you've been around for, let's just say 50 years, you saw a man leave Earth and land on the moon for the first time in human history. And 15 billion years of the universe, possibly 8.5 billion years of Earth's history, you saw that. You saw pictures of Mars. You saw pictures of Venus. You saw pictures of Pluto just a few years ago. You saw Voyager leave the solar system. You saw jets. You saw the internet. You saw this. You saw this. This. The greatest invention in the history of man. It is. You saw the internet. The internet and the Library of Congress times 5,000 right here. You don't need to go there anymore. You live in extraordinary times. I shudder to think what the future looks like because, my God, we've seen so much. We've seen so much. This is a really, it pales by comparison to this. Seoul, South Korea. There's a building there, and they did a giant 3D billboard. This is crazy. It's 262 feet by 66 feet. And it's just kind of cool. Watch. Imagine walking by this. Wow. $262 feet. We are living beyond what we ever dreamed. Think about this. I'm a Gen Xer, right? And I watched Star Trek in syndication. Star Trek was over by the time I was an infant. And but we look at Star Trek and we think, oh, my God. Spock, beam me up now. Okay. This makes the tricorder, that's not a tricorder, it was whatever they communicated with the ship. This makes it look like a walkie-talkie. This cannot beam you up. That could happen, and I don't doubt it one little bit. But this is so far advanced on what we dreamed of Star Trek being. We are seeing so many things that are just, never stop going wow. Never stop going wow. I do it all the time. So some guys were Gio Valencis and Junior Pupo. They were in the Gulf of Mexico, 12 miles off the Florida coast. Their boat capsized. What rescued them? Their cooler.
Capsized. It's still there.
Man, 3 hours.
Is it just you two? Hey, is it just you guys? Yeah. Okay.
That's good right now.
Yeah.
My wife. Thank God you had the cooler. Yeah, my wife and my daughter are on site.
Okay.
In the beach.
So you guys, it's just you two.
Do us a favor. Save the beer. Leave us behind.
All right, I got you.
Man, thank you.
Wow.
3 hours.
You're good. Go to the back. I got you. Go to the back. Here.
You don't realize that 12 miles offshore, you're thinking you're right next door. You might as well be in the middle of the ocean. 12 miles is a hell of a long time on the water.
Give me a hand.
Thank God you had this cooler. You appreciate it for everything.
Yeah. You're good now. You guys are good.
That is so cool. Now, before I go tonight, I have a couple of animal videos that you're going to love. And I'm a carnivore, okay? I'm a carnivore. But there are times that I see animals displaying these glorious qualities, whether it be joy or whatever. My dogs are very dear to me. Years ago, I got a couple of these little hermit crabs. And it was like they're little bugs. They're little bugs. And I got a connection to those little bugs. They would come out when they saw me. They saw my face, and they'd come out and walk on my hands and I'd take them out just to be outside. They were glorious. My dogs are wonderful. I love them. I love them dearly. I have a story I'm going to share with you in a couple seconds about a turtle that expresses joy by sliding down a hill. You know, it's a departure from Joe Biden and all that stuff. FedEx is apparently facing a boycott. Call for a boycott. They fired 2 black workers who posted their video, an altercation with a neighbor in Leesburg, Georgia. This driver was known as Antonio, and they show up, they're delivering a package, and there's apparently a white neighbor in the neighborhood who thinks that because they're black, they are an issue. They are somehow a suspect of something. So they confronted the white guy, and the white guy sounds like kind of a douche. They posted the video online, and FedEx they fired him.
But you didn't have to come out there cussing me like that, like I'm some child. I ain't no little boy. I'm no little boy. I'll wait till the police come.
When you look at the history of the treatment of African Americans in this country, and you are, as an African American person, this man, treated like this, I could see where it'd be enormously hurtful. It would be enormously hurtful and aggravating. And this man is feeling like, what the hell? God dang it, no matter what I do, no matter what I've done that is positive in my life, you, sir, suddenly think because of the color of my skin, even though I'm just doing my damn job, I am suspect. You're going to say, Rob, that's the antithesis of what you said earlier. No, it's not. No, it's not. I've always said there's racism in this country. It's white on black, black on white, Chinese on black, black on Chinese, whatever. But I could see this man being so frustrated. This is what I do. I'm just here delivering packages, and I get this douchebag showing up at this neighborhood because of the color of my skin, saying that I'm suspect. This is hurtful. I could see where this FedEx driver was not only pissed off, but hurt by this. It's like, what have I done?
You can record all you want, bro. I got you.
Right there.
I got
that's
you,
where
bro.
your power at right there. That's your power. That's his power. That's where your power at right there. Where you going? Man, I ain't finna waste my time with you. You got my information. You got my information.
And you know what? You shouldn't waste your time with him. He's a douchebag.
They'll find me. They'll find me. You need to get your glasses back on.
I like this guy. I like this guy, man. The other day on my show on Newsmax TV, I shared a promo for Fox TV's Ultimate Tag. We're that bored. Okay, we're that bored that we have to watch a show called Ultimate Tag. Dear God. Well, this is I don't get offended. I think being offended is overrated. So you get offended. Who gives a rat's ass? You get offended. Some things offend me. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares if you offend me? I don't care. If you offend me on the radio, I turn your station off. If you offend me on the TV, I turn the station off. We live in a glorious country where the First Amendment allows us to offend without being thrown in jail, and allows us to be offended and not punish those who disagree with your thought. I'm not offended by this. I think it's so effing stupid, I can't even stand it. 15 men competing to impregnate... I hope it's artificial insemination. 15 men competing to impregnate a 41-year-old divorcee. Now, if you're just a model and you're a guy trying to make his way in TV, what the hell? You sold your soul. Why would you sign up for this? I could see where you sign up to go on an island, starve yourself to possibly win Survivor. I could see you be an amazing race. But you are signing up for a show where your goal is to impregnate somebody with your seed. You're not going to be married. You're just going to make a baby with her. You think this is cool? It's called, the hell's it called? It's called Inseminate Me. No, it's actually called Labor of Love. Labor of Love. Here is the promo for Labor of Love. Just when you think that the Western culture can't collapse anymore, they bring up something like this.
With most dating shows,
I, of course, never thought I'd be 41 and single.
First comes love, then comes marriage.
Here's to a love story.
But May 21st, Christy wants to put a baby in the baby carriage.
I'm ready. Let's have some kids.
15 daddy wannabes
Sudden fatherhood is terrifying.
compete for love and then some.
What labor actually feels like.
Hosted by Kristen Davis.
I want an invitation to the baby shower. Done.
Labor of Love delivers May 21st on Fox.
Dear God in heaven, no. A couple of reasons. I think the creation of a child requires people being committed to one another. I've had friends who are gay, single, gave up on having children and said, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and get a artificial inseminator or whatever. Not a competition show. Not a competition show. I'm going to do 2 more stories, and they're going to be animal stories. Because honestly, I'm kind of done. I'm kind of done for tonight. There's too much stuff going on. I'm on the fence on. I like watching animal videos. I think they're glorious. I love watching dog rescue videos. I have a soft spot for dogs. But there is a kinship that we have with animals. There are some animals. Listen, we're not animals. We're different than animals. There are animals, they give birth, and the animals, their siblings, their progeny, they run off and they're gone forever. So we're different. We have a connection with them for a life. But at the same time, we see videos of elephants, and they see their offspring, and they love them. And so I'm kind of I'm still a carnivore. I still like my chicken, and all that. This is an interesting video. You see animals that are separated from their human counterparts. And we've seen, tiger videos, lion videos, all these things. Dog videos, certainly with people who are coming back from serving. This is a heartwarming moment where Ismael Fernandez reunited with his donkey in Spain. I want you to watch this donkey because they get together, and I don't know what a donkey cries like, but this animal obviously thinks they're delighted to be with the person that they've been around. Watch this.
¿Dónde está mi burrilla? ¿Dónde está? ¿Qué pasa? ¿Dónde está metida? O más bien, ¿dónde estaba yo? ¿Qué?
And he's weeping. He's seeing his donkey. And this donkey is just is like, hey, it's you.
¿Qué pasa? Oh, qué tontería. Oye, ¿qué?
I'm so glad to see you, my friend. When I've been without my dogs for a couple of days or a week, it is a glorious reunion, man. When you're a parent, your children, they come and they run to see you when they're infants and they're toddlers, and then you kind of become, Dad's home. It just happens. Hi, Jeremy. How are you? And Charles and Greg. It's good to see you guys tonight. You will always get joy from your dogs when you get home. I'm not a cat guy. Maybe cats do that for you. I don't know. And I mentioned my hermit crabs, these dumb little crabs. And I love those little animals. They'd see me. They wouldn't come out of their shells until they saw me, and they'd come out and they'd crawl around, and they were curious. And I'd take them out, and we'd play with them under the tree. So silly. So silly. My thoughts on Veterans Day coming up, or Memorial Day, I should say, coming up. Watch this. Pet tortoise. Ricky Bobby. 45-kilogram, 90-pound African sulcata tortoise. Given to Christina Young and her sister in Santa Clara, California when she was 15 years old. Don't know how old she is now, but this tortoise. Animals can experience joy. They can experience joy and they can experience fun. You don't think that from a tortoise, but this tortoise has figured out that it can climb up a hill and slide down, and it's fun. A turtle. You don't think of turtles as loving life. They just crawl around. This is so cool. I love this. Watch this. Here we go. The turtle, here we go. And he does this every day, by the way. He does this every day. Watch this tortoise. Watch the smile on his face. Slide. Get in his place. Yay!
I cannot with him.
I love that.
Yeah. No, on video.
Let's do it again. Watch him. He knows what's going to happen. He's getting out here on his slide. And he's sliding down there.
Not with him.
I love that, man. I absolutely love it. My God in heaven. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It is Memorial Day, and obviously our thoughts have been clouded by coronavirus and the pandemic. And Memorial Day is always a reason to sell mattresses and cars and all that stuff. And many of us don't think what Memorial Day is all about. We enjoy freedom because many people died to defend that freedom. And it started with the Revolutionary War, and it's continued with regard to the sovereignty of ourselves and other nations. And more than any country in the history of mankind, we have had whoops, get out of here, turtle. Darn it, get out of here, turtle. But we've had the well-being of other freedom-loving people in mind when we freed France, when we freed Germany, when we were instrumental in freeing the Soviet Union, when we've been the greatest voice of freedom and individual freedom and liberty in the history of mankind. A lot of our citizens have died prematurely to defend those freedoms. We don't think about the ultimate sacrifice. We think about our lives. We live every day, and we know we're going to die. But how about when you're 19 years old and you go to Omaha Beach and you die thousands of miles from home, never living your life? It's happened millions of times. Before I go, I want to pay tribute to a couple of veterans in my life who are no longer with us. My father, Leon, World War II veteran, died in 1994. My uncle, Gail, died in the late 80s, early 90s. I don't remember. I was a kid. He was a World War II veteran. My uncle, Lloyd, who helped free Berlin in World War II. My brother, Richard, who was a U.S. Navy veteran who died in 2004 at the all too young age of 38, not in combat. And to those who are living, my nephew, Thad, who's an Afghan war veteran. And to my brother, David, who is an Air Force veteran. They're living. It's not about Memorial Day, but it's about remembering their service. We can never comprehend the sacrifice they made. Dear God, can you imagine losing your life at 20 years old or 21 or 22? Alone and cold in a jungle, in a desert. We can never not remember them. Can you imagine where you are right now? Maybe you've got a comfortable little home and you're 45 or you're 35 or you're 50 or 60 or 70. and you have lived your life and you never had to worry about losing your life at such a young age in a field of battle. That's why we're here. That's what Memorial Day is all about. So while everybody's barbecuing and having a good time and all that, I always think of those who passed, and I know you do too. So it's time for me to go. Ba-ba-ba. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. The absurd, the political and whatnot. If you want to write me personally, carsonontheradio@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook at Rob Carson, Twitter at Rob Carson, YouTube channel Rob Carson Show, and of course on Newsmax TV. Just go to newsmaxtv.com. You can find out where my show airs. It is called Rob Carson's What in the World? Okay? Have a glorious evening. God bless you. God bless those who have passed before us. God bless our living veterans as well. And I'll see you soon. Bye. I've never seen a Memorial Day weekend like this before.
Coronavirus.
Paul II. Okay.
Incarceration. So
the interview that he did with Charlemagne the God. And first of all, Charlemagne the God is
I've got to come up with a the Republican Party. You are going to be shamed. You are going to be.
We've called it right.
She wanted to comment that.
Become advanced in their age. They become weird. They become gross. They become whatever. My mother's 90 years old. She's still my mom. My God, prognosticators and TV weathermen all have about a 50% rate of success. Half of the time they're wrong. James Carville is wrong at least half of the time, and I would say much more. Here's a cover of a book that he did right as Donald. I think this is right after Barack Obama was elected president the first time. He said that there would be 40 more years of Democrat ownership of leadership in the country. Right after he wrote this book, the Republicans took back the House or the Senate. The House was lost in the last election, but after this book, the Republicans gained the Senate and the House and the presidency. So James Carville, you've always been wrong half the time, but honestly, most of the time you are wrong. With this book, I do believe we're 32 to 34 years into this, and you said it was going to change after 40 years. You've been wrong. I don't know why everybody thinks you're some sort of a sage, some sort of a somebody who is infallible. But honestly, your heyday was in the Clinton administration for a variety of reasons, but you don't know. You don't know. We're a D word for Richard. You don't know it. Let's move on to other stuff, shall we? Let's have some fun with just some non-political stuff. Does that sound cool? This happened in China. Chinese worker hailed as a hero. Climbed across a building's facade without any protection to save a little girl. A maintenance worker. Now, I want you to think about this. You're in this situation. You are a maintenance worker. You are 5 stories above the ground. You're, within the possibility of dying. And a little girl is stuck outside, diabetic, until they saw me, and they come out and they crawl around, and they were curious to defend those freedoms. We don't think about the ultimate sacrifice. Ricky Bobby, 45-kilogram, 90-pound African sulcata tortoise, given to Christina Young and her sister in Santa Clara, California, when she was 15 years old. Don't know how old she is now, but this tortoise. Animals can experience joy. They can experience joy and they can experience fun. You don't think that from a tortoise, but this tortoise has figured out that it can climb up a hill and slide down, and it's fun. A turtle. You don't think of turtles as loving life. They just crawl around. This is so cool. I love this. Watch this. Here we go. The turtle, here we go. And he does this every day, by the way. He does this every day. Watch this tortoise. Watch the smile on his face. Slide. Get in his place. Yay!
I cannot with him.
I love that.
Yeah. No, on video.
Let's do it again. Watch him. He knows what's going to happen. He's getting out here on his slide. And he's sliding down there.
I cannot with him.
I love that, man. I absolutely love it. My God in heaven. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me tonight. It is Memorial Day, and obviously our thoughts have been clouded by coronavirus and the pandemic. And Memorial Day is always a reason to sell mattresses and cars and all that stuff. And many of us don't think what Memorial Day is all about. We enjoy freedom because many people died to defend that freedom. And it started with the Revolutionary War, and it's continued with regard to the sovereignty of ourselves and other nations. And more than any country in the history of mankind, we have had whoops, get out of here, turtle. Darn it, get out of here, turtle. But we've had the well-being of other freedom-loving people in mind when we freed France, when we freed Germany, when we were instrumental in freeing the Soviet Union, when we were, we've been the greatest voice of freedom. And to those who are living, my nephew Thad, who's an Afghan war veteran, and to my brother David, who is an Air Force veteran, they're living. It's not about Memorial Day, but it's about remembering their service. We can never comprehend the sacrifice they made. Dear God, can you imagine losing your life at 20 years old or 21 or 22? Alone and cold in a jungle, in a desert. We can never not remember them. Can you imagine where you are right now? Maybe you've got a comfortable little home and you're 45 or you're 35 or you're 50 or 60 or 70. And you have lived your life and you never had to worry about losing your life at such a young age in a field of battle. That's why we're here. That's what Memorial Day is all about. So while everybody's barbecuing and having a good time and all that, I always think of those who passed, and I know you do too. So it's time for me to go. Ba-ba-ba. Thanks for joining me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed the show. The absurd, the political and whatnot. If you want to write me personally, Carson on the radio, gmail.com. You can also follow me on Facebook at Rob Carson, Twitter at Rob Carson, YouTube channel Rob Carson Show, and of course on Newsmax TV. Just go to newsmaxtv.com. You can find out where my show airs. It is called Rob Carson's What in the World. Okay? Have a glorious evening. God bless you. God bless those who have passed before us. God bless our living veterans as well. And I'll see you soon. Bye.